Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to GP for the month of February. We're just finishing up the drivers' meeting, and the guys are hopping in their carts. And we welcome you to K1 Speed in Canton, Ohio. My name is James, and I'm alongside Jason as we welcome you to the February round.
Yeah.
It's February already.
It is.
It's round two.
Round two in GP.
The cool thing is we're live streaming so much, it seems like we're just pretty much every week now. But when I look back on the events and I realize that it's been an entire month since we ran the first GP, it seems like a long time ago. It
does. I mean, we even had the, what was it, the state championships that just went out last week. So that was really cool, but it seems like, yeah, we are streaming pretty much once a week now, which is kind of nice for viewers to get involved in the races.
Hopefully.
Yeah, also, find something that you're interested in and follow either the road to the 12 hours, the road to the World Championship, well, state championship first, then World Championship, or Boost League is just its own thing. I think we do that, 4 different seasons a year or whatever, or 4 different.
And we haven't even had a Boost League yet.
I know.
So that's soon to come. So stand by for Boost League. If you're trying to figure out all these leagues, try to go to k1speedcanton.com, click on the leagues button there on the top of the screen. That'll get you all sorted out. There's basically, the GP series runs 3 different levels. There's the adult, which we're at tonight. Then we got teens and we got juniors. And then we got 2 of our own series that we run here that are exclusive to Canton that are for endurance and for boost, like you said.
Yeah, it's really good to have something for everybody.
We really do. So, yeah, so we have some people at the front counter sometimes that say they have a hard time figuring out all the stuff we have to offer. But if you go to the website, you can figure that stuff out. And then basically most of the stuff runs once a week. If you're on Sunday nights, you're looking at endurance or GP. If you're on Tuesday nights, you're looking at teens or juniors. And if you're at boost, you're looking at Mondays. So,
yeah, a little bit of something all the good days of the week. Something to look forward to for everybody.
Of course, there we go. All right, so we have our first round of cars on track. It looks like we have a great turnout tonight. We are anticipating somewhat around 21 drivers, I believe.
Yeah, and I think it's a mix. Looks like PJ's got something going on track there. On number 7, looks like. Just running, stopped in the back.
They're waiting for him to get speed to the cart, basically. Oh, I see.
Like it reset.
Yeah, I see the screen on there that it rebooted. So
yeah,
now that he's rebooted, it should be initiating speed back to the car.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but very exciting with some battery issues and stuff. Running big races and everything should be hopefully a thing of the past.
Hopefully
soon.
I've got some stuff that we want to show for the batteries tonight, so we'll see if at some point tonight we can pop that up on the screen.
Cool.
Of course, we welcome everybody who's watching. Thanks for tuning in on a Sunday night. We welcome the comments and the chats. Last GP was great with the feedback and us interacting with you guys. We'd love to have the same thing. You're always welcome to tell us who you're rooting for, but also ask or tell us who you want onboard cameras for, so that we can maybe put a camera on them and you get to follow along your favorite driver.
That and this week we have our first sidetracked episode rolling out, so I know people voted for getting to know drivers in that. So we have some driver interviews coming up, and looks like we got something going on. Maybe someone swapping a card out. Probably PJ's, if I was to guess. But I noticed in the qualifiers in that updated qualifier, that's from the last race, I think. But I noticed that there's a pretty good spread in new people versus very experienced people in these qualifiers. So word to the wise, if you haven't been here, you're still getting a good track layout and trying to figure out, how to run the track, then definitely let someone by and grab their line. But it's kind of cool that it's spread out where there's a lot of experienced people mixed with inexperienced people, and qualifiers with new people can get a little rough sometimes, but you'll see everybody out here is pretty much, we've got Corey, Rachel, PJ, Katie, Nate, all, and a few more on screen, but they're all very experienced racers, so everybody's going to space themselves out like you saw them doing right on that first out lap, and I would imagine in some of the other qualifiers it might get a little bit more close racing, and I'm going to be in number 3.
So and there's the surprise of the night, is that Jason's actually going to hop into a car at some point. We're going to get to watch him qualify.
All 38 seconds I anticipate on the indoor track. I'm so excited.
We hope you're not that slow.
No. No, it's good to get out and run them once in a while. So it's a big crowd too.
Yeah, so we'll back up a second because we're just starting the series. If you're new to GP, here's the format. So you're going to run 2 qualifiers. You get to pick your best time, and then we will sort you fastest to slowest, and then put you in a final race so that you can run for position. Something you don't always get to do here if you're just doing arrive and drive. So that's the difference in the GP series. Try to give you an opportunity to fight for position, which is really what most Americans like to do.
Everybody comes out here and tries to first place. That's all they want. They think passing their friends and beating them into the wall and everything like that is the fastest way around the track. And really, it's all time-based when you come here for arrive and drive. So you're right. It does give you a good taste of a little bit of the timing side of it, but then also the competitive, position-based side of it too.
We tell people all the time that we're going to space them out as they leave the pits, and they just look at us and they go, why? Well, because it doesn't matter who you pass on track. You've got to run the fastest lap time. That's the winner under normal conditions here for arrive and drive. All right, I think we're going to start to get some good laps in here. On the scoreboard on the left-hand side, if you see purple, that means that is the fastest lap of the race. That's going to be very important for qualifying because that'll obviously tell you who is the fastest. If you're looking at a yellow time, that means that they ran a lap that was faster than the previous one. You know what? I'm going to get this mixed up. I better stop where I'm ahead.
Purple means you set the fastest of the race.
That's the important one.
Yep.
Purple.
Yep.
Green means you completed a lap, but it wasn't as fast as your previous one. Yellow means it was faster than the previous lap, but it wasn't your fastest.
There you go. It is kind of confusing. You think green would be better, and then yellow would be like, just you ran a lap, but yeah, sometimes the color things are great. Rachel with a 26-1. Now that was something I was going to touch on. Is these guys come out a few races ahead of time usually and run some warm-up races, and pretty much everybody that I know name-wise was running low 26s, 25s. I know I saw Marshall out there burning up 25s. Rachel, Corey. So I would anticipate that to be in the A main of this group, you're going to be somewhere in the low 26s to 25s, but as we've seen, these karts are very close, so they're already separated by only a tenth of a second, so it's going to be very, very close racing.
And we've already got a message down here rooting for Sean, which we met him pretty much in the endurance series this past month, a couple weeks ago. He was kind of a new driver to me, but I got a chance to talk with him this week and put name to a face and realized, yeah, he's actually been here quite a bit, but he's just now getting involved in the series. So glad somebody is rooting for him in the chat tonight. Be watching his lap times. Let's see what he can do. Try to keep those in the low 26s.
Yeah, he's 26.5, just improved. No, he just did improve by about a tenth of a second to a 26.53. So still in the mid-pack there, but if you look down, our fastest time so far is a 26.002, so almost a 26 flat from Rachel Hart, separated to a 26.7, so you're 7/10 of a second off. Rachel trying to get that 26 flat. She just bested her time to a 26.001.
It's all right. She's got a few more laps to go.
That's it, and that's the awesome part about the lithium-ion batteries here at K1 Speed Canton is as you get faster, the tires warm up, and you get to know the track a little bit better, your track time does get faster because there is no die-off to the batteries. And it's just so much better racing like that, because if you have to go out there and just your first 2 or 3 laps when you're getting used to everything, getting used to the kart and everything like that, and you only have 3 or 4 laps to set a good time, it's very tough to race for time races. As I say that, Rachel jumps to a 25.882. So the first of the 25s tonight, Nate Groh, couple 700s behind. So it looks like, 28.016. He took a
26.07, yeah.
Yeah, so he, on the last lap, he kind of, the reason you see the times jump like that sometimes so far off is he'll pull off to the side and he wants a gap. So he'll let a cart by or something so it produces a much, much slower lap time. And then you'll see him put down a heater lap right after this.
If you're looking at the 15 number on the qualifier, that's because of the problems on the first lap, so we're giving them a lap back. It's normally 14. That's what you're going to see for all the other qualifiers tonight.
Hey, James, you got a shout-out on the chat.
Great classes. Okay, yeah, thanks. I know who that one is. Yeah, if you do want a one-on-one lesson with yours truly, you can book those by giving us a call. So I got an opportunity to do 2 of those in the past week. I love those because they're usually around our young drivers who are getting started in the sport. And nothing's more exciting than seeing a young person just kind of get it.
Yeah.
Or especially in the terms of racing, just improve their lap time, knock a couple tenths off their lap times, and that was the case.
I agree. It's so exciting to see like the excitement in like just their face and then their reaction to it, that they feel a little confidence to themselves. So next time they go out there, it's like they're excited about it. It's really cool to see. Rachel at a 25.769 now. Nate still working to break that 26 barrier at a 26.025.
Yeah, Rachel really putting down the hammer. 13 laps into the 15 laps for this qualifier. Couple tenths on top of the rest of the competition. You switch overhead and look, they got lots of extra track space tonight. They're all nice and spaced out. Don't always get that for the qualifiers, but we wanted to make sure that we only ran a certain number of people on the track. We didn't want to crowd them up, and it's good to see all the drivers are cooperating with each other and they're not sitting on top of their bumpers.
Yeah. 20 people running 2 10-person races gets a little crowded.
Right.
So white flag is flying, and looks like we're going to have everybody trying to get one more lap. Nate did best it and get below that 26 threshold at a 25.986. PJ Mannypenny right on his tail at a 26.061. So in 26.085, 26.085, we got a tie for times between Tyler and Corey. Sean is at a 26.2 and Katie at a 26.2. So these times are extremely close.
And there goes Rachel at a 25.6 on the very last lap. Just obliterated the lap time.
These times are going to be really fast tonight. I mean, everybody's separated by as we see the next one go out, it's going to be crazy to watch how close all these times are.
Yeah, her last flying lap, she knocked a couple tenths off that. And we're already on board with PJ now. I was watching the first GP series, and PJ was he kind of slipped in there. He got a second starting spot, which was great for him. I'm sure he would love to do that again tonight. Even with a 26.0, though, I mean, that's still a great time for this track.
You know, what's interesting about PJ and Katie is they were, and even when I talked to them, they got interested in this place because of the endurance series. To see them translate the endurance skills to GP format is really awesome to see.
Yeah.
And PJ's gotten a lot faster in the past year or so.
He has. I talked to him earlier this week as they were here for the 12 hours practice running on Monday, and it just completely made my day. He said, I am just so excited for the 12 hours. So it's great to see the competition level is there. It's great to see that the excitement is building, and you guys need to make sure you're subscribing to our channel, because on March 15th, we're going to be broadcasting all 12 hours of it.
Our next 12 hours practice is 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. So it won't be tomorrow. It'll be next Monday. I'm sure the drivers are glad that we give them that opportunity this year.
You know, we did the same thing kind of last year. We had a couple of them where we're like, all right, Monday nights are going to be, you know, open practice basically. This year we've really worked hard to format it in a professional way, I guess. So the practices revolve around what you're going to be doing, from kart swaps to the actual racing itself. It's very much like the 12-hour setup, and we have a lot of people coming on the Mondays this year.
And we were kind of kidding around because this time last year we had just started planning the 12 hours.
Yeah, we did, and we said we said, hey, why not 6 weeks out, right?
Right. Well, I didn't want to delay it too much. Like, I was going to put this into the summertime, and that was not necessarily the best time to be running, you know, closing down the facility and stuff. So yeah, why not March 17th? Why not go with St. Patty's Day?
Yeah, and it's funny this year, I think, as we vlog and kind of record some of the behind the scenes of how this all comes together, 6 weeks from this year's 12 Hours was quite a point of contention as well. So as the stories unfold through the rest of what we do on competition karting here, you guys will learn just some of the stuff that goes in behind the scenes and some of the great support, fantastic support we've had from some of our suppliers to get this done.
I was going to touch on that tonight, and great time to bring it up. We really have to give a shout out now and probably forevermore to our partners over at OTL. They're the manufacturers who make our karts, and we came to an agreement this week about the batteries for these cars, and they are committed to helping us with this event. Let's just say that. It is much appreciated, and we still have a tight time frame to deal with, but
better a tight time frame than not at all.
Than nothing at all. Yeah. So if you're, I don't know who's watching out there, but if you're a center looking at go-karts, or you're a friend of K1 or whatever, make sure you take a look at OTL. They back their products. They do what they say. They follow up, and we are happy to be partnered with them as a K1 facility here.
Yeah, I told James, I was like, the amount of sleep both of us were losing was insane, and then it's just nice to have, it's really nice to have partners like that go the extra mile and believe in what we're doing here. We're really pushing the equipment to the limit, and I think that's what both of us think of racing. Is it's supposed to be the newest, greatest technology, the best you can give the drivers, and let the drivers deal with it. So it's really, really cool.
That's a hard thing to do in an arrive and drive environment, is to give the drivers the best equipment, because most motorsports, it's up to the drivers to bring their stuff. It's up to them to tune it, maintain it, pay for the parts, all that kind of stuff. And this is that scenario is completely flipped at an arrive and drive facility. K1 Canton is responsible for all of the equipment, and we got to maintain the karts. We still got to let the public drive them once in a while, and then we got to turn them around and hand them to our tame racing driver, as the Top Gear guys used to say.
That's true. Jason Hall with a 27.399. So a lot of 27s, 28s, and a 40 in this. But this is a great opportunity as you see these guys racing it out a little bit. It's like I said, if you guys watch this stream back, just let that guy by and follow his line, and maybe not that line, but if you got a faster driver, let him around and try to learn from that line a little bit.
Just saw the chat coming up. It says we should run the outdoor track today. Yeah, that would be nice. It is a balmy, like 50 degrees today in Ohio. Did not expect that for February. Unfortunately, the outdoor track is just not prepared. It's not ready to go.
And the ground temp is still so cold. I don't think there would have been much traction.
But yeah, well, we wouldn't. Yeah, we will let them
warm it up.
Yeah,
that sounds more like a boost league thing.
If we take a look at this camera here, we can explain why. We just modified the entrance to the pit lane down here, the bottom of your screen, and because of that construction's not completed either. So your outdoor track's just not going to be available yet. So good thought, though. We look forward to opening it in the spring, that's for sure. You can see a picture of that on the K1 Speed Canton website. Those doors right in front of you are the ones that you exit and enter. It adds about a third more length to the track. So you go from what we're running tonight, high 25s, low 26 numbers, all the way to about 40 seconds on a lap time. And it's a great opportunity to get a straightaway, because you leave the indoor track and you go straight out the door. Gives you a chance to test the top speed and really stretch the legs of the kart. Top time so far, Brendan is on the top with a 26.7.
Seems like everybody's getting warmed up into it, so it's good to see the time start coming down.
Let me see. We've got Jason Hall also on board. We're going to wait for him to round the carousel here in a second. This was one thing I thought of when we were running the coaching the other day. And whoop, right here. Okay, he's going to go through the carousel. You're going to turn left, and now you're going to go the long right-hander. Look how far out right there. See where his wheel on the left-hand side is, and there's a crack in the concrete? That is a good benchmark for drivers to be looking for. If you're further than that crack on the concrete, you're using too much track space. And I just thought I was going to point that out this week, because it was really helpful to the last driver that I was working with in referencing how tight you really should be coming through the carousel. Now, if you're coming from a traditional race car background, that logic doesn't necessarily apply, does it, Jason?
No, it does not.
Now, that line right here is a little close, Jason.
Yep.
Jason Hall that we're talking about. But so that logic doesn't necessarily apply because you're in a large outdoor space and you want to utilize the maximum track width in order to get the fastest speed through the corner. But that doesn't necessarily translate to indoor go-karts.
No, it's a sweeper keeping your wheel as straight as you can sometimes, letting that car slide out so you can get the wheel straighter faster. In this, I have a tough time translating it.
It's different. It's hard to get the mindset different than if you're driving a regular car.
I'm going to keep that in mind, though, when I go down for my qualifier. That's a really good tip. I'm going to see if I can apply that.
You'll notice that some of our fastest guys are holding the crack. I don't think that's a great way of saying that.
No, but it is true. They run that so tight.
They do.
It's incredible. There's some, Marshall's one of those guys that came in, was running average times, and then just, over the past, you said he ran a bunch of races. He came in and said, I got it. Like, he figured it out. And from then on, it's been he's been really fast, but it's those little tricks like that you don't think of, that I think people watching the stream that come and race here love that kind of stuff, because then they're able to apply it to the track.
Hopefully. The difference is you just got a small car that can change directions very quickly, and you're also defined by a physical barrier, which means there's no runoff and there's no room to, just not a lot of extra space. That's really all it comes down to. And so you really want to minimize your track distance and balance it with carrying the most speed you can. Same thing with turn one. He just came through turn one here. You notice he didn't exit all the way to the outside. And the reason for that is you just don't need the space.
Very true. Well, with a few laps to go, I'm going to jump down and get into a cart for qualifying. So
all right.
I'll see you in a couple minutes.
I'll see if I can carry the show by myself.
Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'll give you something to talk about.
This is the that's true. I'll get to see what it's like when you were up here by yourself last Monday for the state championship.
Oh, so. It's fun. It's fun. All right, well, I'll see you guys in a minute.
Good luck. All right, as Jason relocates from one chair in the booth to the chair in the cart, we will follow in the back corner. This is known as turn 5. You only got one lap remaining in the 14-lap qualifier. You do have 2 chances to do your qualifier tonight, so if this one doesn't work out for you, you still got another shot. You get another 14 laps to see what you can do. We'll only take the best times of the 2 qualifiers before we line you up. Most of our guys in this heat averaging around the 27s. Doing a little bit more bumping and grinding, but the cool thing is, as Jason said last month, the GP Series is an inviting series for this very reason, and we welcome people who are coming and running any kind of lap time they can, because one, you don't necessarily get to run the same type of competitive race every time, like arrive and drive scenarios, and 2, you're probably going to pick up some speed by driving with other drivers tonight. So if you're not joining us tonight, make sure you mark it on the calendar. We want you the first Sunday of March. That's the whole reason we do the live streams, to try to get you guys involved, show you a little bit about how this works, get familiar with the ins and outs, and then have you show up. That's really the point. It's not to make Jason or myself famous. It's to show you guys what this stuff is all about and show you that it's a great opportunity to get involved in a pretty low-cost motorsport for sure. Yeah, just like we're seeing in the chat here, Squiggly says the cool thing about seeing the different lines is he races here, and so you realize what the fast line is. So that's exactly right. How many races are we going on today? Just the 2. Yeah, the 2 qualifiers. So we have 3 heats. Everybody's doing 2 qualifiers, so you're going to see a total of 9 races tonight. Qualifier 1 for groups 1, 2, and 3. Qualifier 2 for groups 1, 2, and 3, and then a final race for 1, 2, and 3. Let's check overhead. We should have our group 3 all ready to go. Yep, I do see them down at the bottom of your screen. I got to step away for just a second, guys. I'll keep the video rolling. I'll be right back. All right, thanks for holding on for me, guys. Getting ready to send out the group number 3. Somebody was asking who the next people are, and you got the list right there on your left-hand side. Oh, we didn't update Jason's name, so he's going to stay as Lucky. So he'll be driving the car number 11 in this qualifier. You can keep an eye out for him. The cool thing is we're going to have some instant feedback from him. We'll find out what the track conditions are and how everything runs tonight, right after he's done. Because I'm sure he'll come back up to the booth to join us. So, looking at some of the final qualifying times of the last heat. So our best time was a 26.5, 26.6, and then we had some 27s in there as well. Welcoming all of our new drivers. We love the fact that you guys are here tonight. David waving to the crowd. Okay, so the story with the wave is David's now become known as the person who waves, and he doesn't know what camera we have on him, so he's just going to start waving all the time. Sounds fair enough to me. David, I want you to do that while you're driving, too. That would be great. Particularly maybe driving through turn 4. We've also gotten on board with Marshall Miller. He was your winner of the GP in the first round, so we'll be paying particular attention to him. And the second place was none other than Armand Deligny. So we'll be watching and following along with him as well as he's warming up the tires. Got a lot of our experienced guys in this heat. So as we're going to slow the field for a second. Waiting for kart 11 to get speed, I believe. Sorry for the mute there, guys. Just checking on a couple things. Not sure why we're reorganizing. It is just a qualifier, so while we do that, let's see if I can bring up some point standings, because we were just talking about the people who won the last round. That was Marshall Miller, the car who sits in front of you, the number 5, followed by Armand, and then Corey was in the top 3. So I haven't seen Corey's name here yet tonight. I don't think he's... Let me double check. Nope. Sorry, Corey. You were here in the first round. My apologies. You ran a 26-0, so you were there. And then PJ in the 4th. Points are based upon the number of drivers who compete in that given round. So we had 18 drivers last round. That means 18 points on offer to the winner. There's one additional bonus point for the pole sitter, and that was Marshall. So Marshall pretty much swept the evening, taking maximum number of points. Armand's going to be trying to capitalize on that tonight, if at all possible. But if we do, in fact, have 21 drivers tonight, that'll be 21 points on offer. So another advantage for you guys watching, or if you guys are watching this replay later, that you want to make sure you bring your friends, because the more people that are here, the more points are on offer. And like Jason said last month, I would bring my slow friends, but that's all relative, I guess. You're riding on board with David Pons, who did his purple lap of the 27.0. Looks like he's the first guy to get a clean lap in on the parade lap, as Marshall quickly bests him with a 26.6, but we're definitely going to see that time go a little lower. Jim Johns, one of our new competitors in the GP series. I recognize that name. And Nathan Johns, same last name, but I don't think they're related. I've never seen anything confirming that of the sort. Everybody's starting in the 27s, but just getting a chance to warm things up. Lucky is sneaking in there at a 26.8. I'm sure he can go a little quicker than that. So, guys in the chat, root him on. We need to push him a little bit more. There was a question here about whether we're going to be streaming the teen and junior league on Tuesday. Unfortunately, not at this point. No, we have to get a few more things cleared as far as that goes. We were able to clear the state championships, though. If you watch that, we did broadcast the juniors and teens there because we knew everybody who was participating and we got approval from them to broadcast, and so that worked out pretty well. The unfortunate thing with Arrive and Drive on the teen league and the junior league is we just don't have enough information on who's going to show up so that we know that it's okay to broadcast. So we'll still continue to work out that. Might be possible in the future, but Marshall Miller going down in the low 26s. Followed by Armand. So right now we're following the rank and order from the round one. However, we are looking for the target number to beat is a 25.68. That was the one who was set by Rachel in the first qualifier. Marshall Miller really has got his work cut out for him in order to beat that time. The other guy who was in the 25s in the first round was Nate Groh. He was a 25.98. So any of these guys that are around those times are going to be eventually merged together so that they can run their final together. We're just separating them out in the qualifier for now. So we're also on board with Chris Kuhn tonight. I was waiting to see if his camera was going to clear up a little bit. And that is not the case. Apologies for that. So we'll keep it on Jesse Ernest for the time being. He's driving the number 26 machine right now, 27.6, as Marshall does a 25.9. Still in the low 25s. I'm sorry, high 25s. All on board with Marshall Miller. He's your fastest at the moment. As you ride along with him, hopefully riding along. Let's switch over to David Pons. I'm always interested in particular watching the drivers and their footwork. Down there you can see the red and the green pedals. You can tell exactly when they're letting off the throttle and when they're using the brake. And so, like we talked a little bit about driving lines, this is another thing that you can be watching out for and learning about how these fast guys are driving just by watching their pedals. See that lift going into 2, back in the throttle, another lift into 3. One of the things we touched on with the GP round 1 was I had somebody comment to me recently that they were going as fast as they could because they were holding the throttle down the whole time. And then I commented to him, I said, that's exactly the problem. You cannot drive this circuit fast if you keep your throttle down the whole time. It may feel fast, it may feel like you're getting keeping your inertia up, but the problem is that it unsettles the car and you overdrive the rear wheels, and you just end up sliding sideways, and so you can't do anything besides slow down. So by lifting very quickly and then getting back in the throttle as David just did, you allow the car time to settle, you allow traction to remain on your rear tire so that when you get through the apex, you can get back on the throttle and push the car to its massive acceleration, especially on a straightaway. That's no more important than as we go through 3 right here in turn 4, this little kink to the left, it's pretty much the second longest straightaway. It's not very long, but it's the second longest. If you don't get through 4 cleanly, then you're going to be losing time. Then if you move over to the outdoor track and you translate that, through the garage doors, turn 4 then becomes even more important, because if you don't carry enough speed, you're definitely going to be losing a lot of time on the straightaway out there. So this is very nuanced in the indoor go-karting world. Little tiny corrections on the steering wheel, little tiny corrections on the pedals make a big, big difference. We'll check back on board with Armand. He's still floating in the low 26s as Marshall crept up there on me on the 25.7. We're very close. So Rachel's time of 25.6 is the time to beat for pole position at this point. Marshall Miller, the number 5 machine. And of course, we don't want to forget Jason down there, sitting down at 26.7 so far. We'll have to talk to him about that. White flag is out. You got 1 lap to go. And like we always talk about, the lithium batteries are going to provide the same voltage on lap 1 as they do on lap 15. So that's the great thing about running our karts here. It's a little bit different than other indoor tracks, is you don't have that drop off in voltage. You have the same power through the whole time as everyone crosses the start finish line, as this session comes under wraps with Marshall Miller being the best time, but with 25.719. Not as fast as our pole sitter so far preliminarily, but that will best out Nate Groh at the 25.9 and PJ, who was the 26.0. They were our other fast drivers in our heat number 1. One of the things I was playing with earlier, now let me see if I can get this up on the screen. Our battery telemetry. See, we just rode on board with Armand. He is kart 13. Let me pull up kart 13 1 second. There we go. Okay, so there is our graphic in the lower right-hand corner. I better switch the cameras because they're going to be moving it on me. All right, there's 3. So we don't show this very often, but since we're coming up on the 12 hours, I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to show you the kind of cool stuff we have on our cars. This is real-time telemetry that is coming from car number 13, the one that Armand just drove. So what you're looking at is 3 fields. The SOC is the state of charge. You're looking at the pack voltage, and you're also looking at the cell temp. This monitor every 5 seconds transmits this back to our data center and tells us exactly what's going on with each battery on every single one of our 36 cars. It's a really cool technology that Ability Business has developed for us, and it has been instrumental in making sure that we know exactly what is going on inside these battery packs, because we were basically flying blind until that time. Now, one of the considerations is the cell temp over there. You can see that it's alerted yellow a little bit. That 37 degrees is not necessarily abnormal, so don't be alarmed by yellow, but we can disclose the fact that, heat has been an issue on these battery packs. And so one of the things that this software and hardware developed for us was it told us exactly how hot we were getting so that we knew where our thresholds were, and we also knew just exactly why the battery was behaving that way that was. So the teams for the 12 hours are actually going to have access to this information in real time. And we are happy to provide that for them because it's just really cool.
That is a really cool lower third. I like that.
Thanks. I'll still try to perfect it for the 12 hours, make it a little cleaner, but I figured that would be a good intro for those of you who are loyal enough to follow along on a Sunday night GP. So.
Right. I mean, who doesn't like GP? I think we're the only place that does it live, so it's kind of cool.
Probably. Well, I recognize that helmet, even though we don't have the lower third just yet.
Right? That's Corey Salerno.
None other than Corey himself. So how was your qualifier?
It was all right. So 26.5, I think is what I was at. But, yeah, kart that I went out with was really good. Felt really good first, opening lap and whatever, and then jumped into that one and right away was just different. There's some karts that you touched on, the line side of it, and I think I appreciate having a pretty solid car bike background, because in a kart like that, it doesn't like to handle kart drivers will complain that a kart is slow, where it doesn't turn on a dime like they like. It doesn't grip and turn and keep going. There's karts like that, whether it's the tires that wear out or wear and tear in the kart in between maintenance cycles, because that's the other thing. People are like, what kart is fast? It's like, well, you got to understand these karts go through maintenance cycles all the time. So it's, you know, what is faster? Nothing really.
Right.
Like in that, I had to, you know, first couple laps in that kart, it was not biting a really hard line like a kart line, but I did find that if I was using less wheel and getting the kart to rotate around a little bit softer, I could carry a lot more speed through turns. So I was able to drop down a little bit more time as I was perfecting that. But it's one of the things I love about especially indoor karting here is all the karts kind of have their own personality, where, you know, there's some people that'll favor, obviously, if your kart has a faster straightaway. But I think, you know, even if you have a kart that is handling a little bit different than what you're used to, if you are open-minded as a driver and adapt to the kart, just try a couple different things. You know, it's not like we're racing for $100,000 here. It's okay to take a race or two and try to figure out how to mess with the karts a little bit. Come do some arrive and drives and drive the karts and just adapt your driving style to different karts.
Personally, I believe that the drivers also read a lot into the sound of the car.
Yeah.
And not for the good, unfortunately, because I did it myself, and I tried this experiment with 2 known cars that I knew were of certain lap times, for instance, and they sound different because of the chain wear and the noise and the lubrication level on them. And so I'm trying to find a good onboard camera here.
GoPros are acting up a little bit.
And I found that my mind is very deceived if I hear louder noises coming from the rear end than if it's just running completely smooth.
Oh, it's the same 17-year-old logic of cut your exhaust off and your car goes faster. You know what I mean? If it's loud and it sounds like a race car, it's obviously going fast.
Exactly the same logic, yes. Same thing.
I know what you mean, though, because, like, do you remember right before the 12 hours last year, we went through and did a whole bunch of chains. Like, I think the entire fleet, actually. Or close to the entire fleet. Anything, you know, sprockets and chains, we went through a bunch of different stuff. And when we heard those karts, it was like both you and I said, it's like, oh my God, it sounds like they did. And you don't really notice it as time goes on. So then you get from one kart to another that just sounds a little bit different because chain wear or tire wear or whatever it is going into the corner. And you're like, it's faster, it's slower, it's faster, it's slower. And it's really not.
I had people tell me that one particular kart felt slow. But that was because they honestly didn't feel the grit and the grind feedback that they normally get from the chain because it had just been replaced.
Yep.
But I knew that car was capable of a certain given speed at that given time. So
yeah. So this is the qualifier that I think is going to be the one to watch out for the A main, just because of the times we saw last time. With everybody so close and only 225s came out of that. And right away, Nate, or not right away, we're 7 laps in, so we're halfway through, and Nate's at a 26.11. So lots of 26s in this crowd here. The second one, the 26s, when I was getting in the kart, I noticed the times that everybody was pretty heavy in the 26s, but they were tenths off of each other. Several tenths or a few tenths off each other. So I think the 26 time crowd is going to be really, really close on how the final is going to be.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be a lot of differences with tenths, thousandths, or hundredths at that level, for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to ride on board with the bull, Katie. It's official. I can call her that.
Yeah, she has a shirt and everything now.
She has embraced the bull, and even though her camera's cutting out in turn 1, I just wanted to make sure we brought that up tonight. She normally runs the Endurance Series. Well, she runs GP as well. I can't say that. But also going to be a 12-hour contender as well.
Rachel with a 26.035. So that's a good time coming from Rachel towards the end of the race. Fastest so far. So her and Nate grow.
Wow, splitting hairs as far as the fastest lap there.
Yeah.
That is a 0.034 delta between the two of them.
Both of them seem like they probably going to go after this last lap heater like Rachel just did. So who is... This is on board with Nate, I think, right?
Yeah, Nate Grow. Sorry, no L there on his name. Let's see if we can throw that out of here.
Yeah, it's good to see Nate getting back into the series and stuff. When I talked to him down on track a few races ago, it was like... He's been going through stuff in life, and he's really excited to be getting back into karting. He said it just gives him like a place to take his energy out, I guess is the way to say that. I think we all kind of do that with karting sometimes. You're having a bad day, you jump in a go-kart and have at it on track.
It's such an easy, accessible motorsport.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
To leverage, because you can't always go out on a track day.
Nope.
Can't always afford the tires. Can't always afford the fuel it takes to get back and forth to the track. All
Let
that kind of
alone
stuff.
the weather.
The weather, yep. So indoor electric it is. There might be some people who kind of look down upon this as
it's just go-karting.
It's just go-karts. We understand. Can't convince you one way or the other until you try it and come out and do it yourself.
That's it. 1 lap to go. Rachel finally broke into the 25s there with a 25.949, or was that the checker she just took? Yeah, checkered flag.
Checkered.
So, yeah, she was the only one in the 25s in that. And, yeah, but like James was saying, it's one of those things from me and a lot of my friends. There hasn't been snow this year, and life in the wintertime for us revolves around snowmobiling. So this is that's why we created these competitive leagues, and that's why I'm glad these leagues exist here, is it gives you an outlet.
Because the cool part is the competitiveness, and that's why our channel is called Competition Karting.
That's it.
It just, any kind of level of competition you can bring out generally is fun.
It's a personality type, I think, where if you're,
True.
Like you're the four-wheeling, dirt biking, whatever, outdoorsy, throw it on a racetrack type person, and you're twiddling your thumbs watching our stream, definitely come out and check it out. Boost nights are fantastic, but those are right now on hold while we get through the 12 hours practices.
Once we get back into Boost Series, then you'll be able to experience these cars with the button enabled, and that is a 15% increase in the acceleration profile of the car. And it's tricky. It seems like it would just be super easy to drive, but it actually makes the car more difficult to drive.
It does. We've played around with like really fast speeds too, and it's like there's a speed that you think as like a racer or whatever, you're like, I want the fastest I could possibly go with these karts. And yeah, there's something to be said about being able to control something really fast in a small space, but it's not as fun, I don't think, because there's a point to where it's like undrivable.
Right.
And Boost kind of gives you that right before that line. Lots of fun, the almost push to pass kind of thing, but
right.
It changes your braking points, it changes your turn-in points, let alone having, 12 people out there all fighting for position.
Definitely your braking points. And I always warn people when they run Boost for the very first time, it's going to carry the car because you're going to let off the throttle and it carries a little further.
That's the hardest thing to get used to.
It is. And I kind of leave it that way on purpose because it's more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
But that's why we also require people to have a certain amount of car control or have some sort of level of experience before they run Boost, because we don't want them just going out there and ramming head first into the barrier.
It's the faster speeds. It's the different track layouts, like that track edition that we made for a Joker lane in that. If you don't know what a Joker lane is, it's basically 1 lap out of a race, you're able to take a shortcut around the track. So you'd enter at the bottom of the screen here, and it brings you right back into the carousel. I can't wait to try it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Joker typically is the area down the right-hand side of the track, which is blocked off during outdoor season. But then when we open it up for Joker, you have the option of either turning through that turn or you have the option of going outside.
Yeah, so now we have an indoor Joker we can use year-round, so it'll be a lot of fun. But also with the time, if you're able to hit under a 27 here, you have enough kart control that you're able to run with everybody that is out there, because there's a lot to be said. Even in public races, I've seen some pretty interesting accidents. No carts flipping over or anything like that, but just like, people getting in weird situations because they don't have a line. And if you are trying to pass them, you can get in a weird spot or they can get in your way. And with this kind of racing, it's really nice. I know there's been multiple times you and me have raced together in a very tricky situation, I guess is the right way to put that, where there's an opportunity, if the two people beside me didn't give me a little bit of leeway in the turn, they didn't know any better, I would have been through a barrier. Right. So it's like, it's good to trust the people that you're racing with, but also race really hard with them.
A good way of saying that is just a little bit of leeway. Yeah. If you want to test your reflexes, come out on a Saturday.
Yes. Oh, man.
Come out and drive with the general public. We love them.
Yeah.
They've never experienced the cars before, so you just have to be more patient.
Yep. And there's very much, like we touched upon it earlier, where people come out and they just instantaneously, they get in a cart with their friends and they think that if they pass their friend, they're in first place. And the way these are set up for public arrive and drive is time-based. So really, you can hang back from your friend and, you know, not get passed and still have the fastest time. But who doesn't like to pass their friends? And
yeah.
I mean, it is fun for position. But
gotta admit, there's nothing quite like passing your friends on track.
It's true. But bring them out to Boost League, get them all, you know, and everybody here helps you out as far as, you know, getting a line and working on getting faster, and bring them out to one of the leagues here, and especially Boost League if you're into the position style racing like that. It is just too much fun.
It really does provide a different outlet for the drivers to drive for position, because you really are limited in the number of times and opportunities you have to drive for position. Most of the races we run here are all for time based. So as we ride on board with Chris Kuhn, checking out his lap times and seeing where he's standing, PJ Manapay popped up to the top of the blue or the purple, the 26.1. We have mixed up the groups here a little bit. I believe these are different people that drove in the B main last time.
Yes.
Just trying to divvy up some of the experience levels, give everybody an opportunity to drive with their, you know, according group. So good to see Brendan Thomas here tonight as you ride on board with him in the number 9 machine. He's running in the low 27s, 27.2. And again, going back to the idea of bringing your friends, when you bring more people, you do get to run like drivers who are of the same speed.
Yep.
So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to run with the fastest or the slowest, but you're going to land up about the same, you're driving with the same people who are about your speed.
Yeah, I always like to, the bragging rights for me has always been the fastest of the slows. I always found myself in like the C main or B main, and I'm like, it's just people with very similar times to me, and I'm not out there burning, you know, solid 25s all the time. So for me in an A main, I get swallowed up, but in a B main, when there's a lot of people, I love it because they're all
you get to battle it out with the bull.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Katie, I don't know where she wound up in her last qualifier, but I bet you our times are halfway close. So if I wind up with Katie in my heat, it'll be entertaining up here.
Let's look. So your time. Gotta go back a couple heats here. Jason's best time was a 26.5, and Katie ran on the first group, I should say, of 26.2.
Ooh, so I got a little work to do.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of mid 26s, so I would be solid in the B main.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where these guys land when we're all done sorting the times.
I mean, even just going off of my time of a 26.5, so Jonathan Douglas right now is a 26.513. So Chris Kuhn's a 26.419, and then Jason Hall is a 24.11. So these times are really, really close.
Yeah.
It's going to be separated by thousandths of a second.
It's a good thing we got the computer to sort out fastest to slowest for us. It'd take us a long time to calculate that by hand.
Yes. Tyler popping up to number 1 with a 26.011. So beat out PJ there by a tenth of a second.
Nice.
And yeah, he just popped up out of nowhere.
Tyler, obviously a member of PJ's team this year in the 12 hours.
I've seen the teams this year for the 12 hours. I think them getting involved in more leagues has helped. I've seen a lot more people from 12 hours in different leagues because they realize a lot of the teams are very fast this year. So everybody's trying to get as much on-time, you know, wheel-to-wheel action as they can to really get themselves set up for the 12 hours. So that's really cool to see that, you know, other teams with Tyler with a 25.8. So awesome. And with that, I'm going to check out for a minute because I got to hit my next qualifier.
All right.
I'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you then. Yeah, great time there. 25.8 for Tyler. PJ following it up with a 26.1 in this heat in the car number 10. We're looking on board Chris Kuhn in the green shirt as he's passing cross start finish line. Let's see if he has anything to improve upon as the white flag flies. 26.4 is his best time in that machine number 30. Let me go back and check Chris Kuhn's last time. Let's see what he's shooting for. Chris Kuhn's last time in machine number 15 was a 26.3. So close. He's just a 10th off this round. Not going to improve on that one. But yeah, Tyler will take the top spot of this particular qualifier. 25.890. Congratulations to him. So we'll have a little bit of a break here. I've got a video to show you guys, and it talked a little bit more about the batteries. It was shot about a month ago here, so it's going to reference one of our endurance races. Stand by and see how this goes. From last month, you saw that one of the cars actually died on the track. That is actually car 23 inside in front of right now. I wanted to explain a little bit about what happened. One, for transparency, but two, just to kind of give you some insight on what we're dealing with here in these electric cars. So we've taken the side covers off the car, and you can see there's a battery pack on this side and this side. They are distributed for weight purposes, but they do work together. So basically you have a battery A and a battery B. They have 15 cells between the two of them. There's 8 cells over there and 7 cells over here. Now, if you work with any electronics or like a kid's toy or something, this is the equivalent of putting 15 AA batteries into the toy to make it all work together. So even though they're separate units, they do have to work together. So what happened in this case was that 2 of the cells on this side of the car were actually too high of a voltage, and it was preventing the other 13 cells in the pack from properly charging. That means when the car went out on track, it didn't have enough juice to run the intended length of the race. So what we've done, and we've worked with our partners at Ability Business to create a balancer for all 15 of these cells. So this actually has wires that go to all the 15 different cells, and this device will actually take all 15 of those and kind of level them out. It's really important that we do that balancing process because the battery is only as strong as its weakest link. So if we can't get a full charge into the battery because 2 cells are too high, well then we need to bring those 2 cells down and we need to bring the other 13 cells up. And that's what we've done this week with this car. With this charger over here, we actually give it a very small amount of voltage and we let the car sit with the balancer for literally 24 hours. That's about how long it took for this one. And when the process is done, you have 15 cells that have all come together and balanced properly so that the car has the proper amount of voltage to run a full race. So that's what we've done. We don't have to replace the battery packs. We just basically run this balancing process. And we've been working with our vendors to improve that balancing process to make it more predictable, more reliable, and that kind of thing. So you'll see this car back out on track, and we hope that it continues to race for many more days to come. Well, thanks, James, for that very enticing information. We appreciate that. Yeah, balancing is a big deal when it comes to working with large batteries like this. And unfortunately, it was not something that was developed in the original design of the batteries, and that's why we had to kind of go our own way or figure out our own methods and our own monitoring, because it was just constantly, the cells were just constantly out of balance. And it's a long, drawn-out process because you're working with small amounts of voltage. And I actually should correct myself because I said we use that charger with a small amount of voltage. It's actually not correct. It's a small amount of wattage. And so when you're working with a small amount of wattage, it just takes a long time to move fractions of a volt from one cell to another. So that little balancer just sits there all night and goes pull from cell 13 and push to cell 2, and then vice versa, or whatever it needs to do. And it just takes a long time because you're dealing with such small voltages all the time. But it makes a big difference. I mean, that particular battery, yeah, it did die during the endurance race, and we always like to take a look at it and figure out why, because that's just as important as anything else. If we don't know why the batteries are dying, then we just continue to, I don't know, chase rabbit tails, I guess. Jason's got a little bit of a traffic to him on the right-hand side as we start this next qualifier. You're following along for the GP series of Live from K1 Speed Canton. We welcome those of you who are following along live. We appreciate it. One of the reasons we do this is to try to keep people interested in the indoor go-karting scene and just to show off some of the capabilities and the competitiveness of this sport. This is one of those series that runs once a month all through the calendar year so that drivers can collect points and race for a championship. At the end of December, they'll be looking for a state championship in Ohio, and then at the end of the state championships, they will have an opportunity to move on to nationals, and nationals on to worlds, all within the K1 speed competition. Now we've got our name up here for Nathan Johns, who you're following on board, the number 26. Marshall Miller already pulling up the fastest lap, 26.2. We also have an onboard with Armand Deligny, who was our second fastest qualifier on the last round, and also, I can't say for sure he's the second fastest in this round yet, but we will have an opportunity to tally that together. And you're also on board with Marshall Miller. We'll go ahead and take a flying lap with him since he is already into the 25s. Again, everybody's chasing that 25.6 lap time Rachel Hart set down at the very beginning. Anybody with an opportunity to take pole is got to beat that time for sure. We're only going to take the fastest of your 2 qualifiers. So if this one's not faster than the last one, then don't worry about it. Marshall Miller giving a wave. And David Pons is also going to be into the same traffic here. On the tail of the number 32. Going to be looking for some clear track space for sure. Let's switch back over to Marshall Miller. Okay, let's try that flying qualifier lap now. As he's going to cross the timing line. We'll number the turns as we go through. There is turn 1, quick lift into turn 2, very short shoot into 3. Then you aim to the scoreboard as you do this kink to the left. That's turn 4. Turn 5 is almost the 180, but you carry a lot of speed through here. Now a quick kink into 6, and then technically turn 7, but we call it the carousel just because we like that term, and on to the front straightaway. That was a 25.7 for Marshall. Jason, our co-commentary person, sitting down here with a 26.8. We'll see if he can get into the low 26s tonight. I think he has the capability. Just needs to tighten up that line a little bit. He'll probably be looking in the carousel for that concrete line that I told him about earlier. But that camera, unfortunately, is not providing live feed, so let's go back. I think Marshall's going to be our best bet here. They did change Jason's name on the scoreboard. Okay, so he was lucky last time around. His official name is up there now. We had joked around a little bit that several times when we came live, I mispronounced his name, seemingly on purpose, right? Yeah. And so we're going to create a little montage of me saying his last name incorrectly because, yeah, I'd challenge you guys to pronounce that. I think we'll just go with lucky next time. Marshall Miller is still leading Armand Deligny in this qualifier. This is going to be our last heat before we aggregate everybody's times together for the final. David Pons still putting down quick lap times of a 26.2. And then we touched on Jason. We've also got Nathan Johns there, 26.9 before we go into the 27s. Nice range of competition tonight. Glad to see this. The GP series is Arrive and Drive. You can show up the next first Sunday of the month and just say you want to drive GP, and you are welcome to do so. No sign up required. You just show up at 6 o'clock here at our facility, try to race around 6:30. The more people that show up, the more points that are on offer. Marshall going purple again for a 25.74. So close to this 25.686 set by Rachel Hart. She is still preliminarily the pole sitter. And we will run the finals slowest to fastest, so we'll have the C main, B main, followed by the A main through the end of the night. Check out overhead here, as you see Armand rounding turn 5, and then David Pons. I believe these guys are both trying to set themselves up for flying laps just to get themselves across the start-finish line as fast as possible. This should be white flag this time by for the leaders. Only 14 laps in the total session. .16 on Marshall's time. That's lap number 13 for him. He just went across the finish line, so he's going to register that last one at 25.7, but it's not going to improve. So close, but not going to improve on that 25.71. Most of the cars getting a decent gap on the field. Some people looking for clean track space. As we follow on board with Armand Deligny, he is so tall, he's got to stretch his leg out to the front bumper of the car. Armand finishing a 26.1 and that number 17 machine. Let me look back and see what time he was trying to beat. He was trying to beat a 26.38. So he certainly did that. This will be the number that counts for him. Still not in the 25s, though. Probably scratching his head on that one. As the cars will then round up, we're going to round up the numbers as well, and we're going to take a quick break before we line you up for the finals. Thanks for following along, guys. And like Lisa Miller is saying, keep it up, Marshall, and let's go, Marshall. Yeah, we got a couple fans in the chat. We'll be right back with you guys. Thanks for hanging on. We'll be back with the finals for position. Well, like I said, we'd have Armand up in the booth momentarily. That was really quick. So by the time I put it in the chat that you were coming up, you're already here. So welcome, Armand Deligny, who has run through both your qualifiers tonight, getting ready for your final. Looks like you're going to be making it into the A main tonight. So just want to get some of your feedback on how things are going for you.
Yeah, it's going pretty well. First kart was very strong. Second one was a little bit slower on the straights, but
we'll get this a little closer to your mouth so we can get good audio. There we go.
Good, better.
Yeah, that's good.
Right, perfect. Yeah, second car was a little bit slower than the first, but still managed to get some pretty good times. So I think I'm P5. I want to say.
Yeah, I don't know the actual sort order, but I do know that your fastest time was pretty close. So you did a 26.198 in the first round, and then I'm sorry, your second round.
I think a 25.992 in the first.
25.992, yeah. So you did break into the 26s just barely. So do you think that's going to put you about fourth?
I think fifth.
Fifth? Okay.
If I'm correct, I think it's Rachel, Marshall, Tyler, Nate, and then myself. Tyler's pretty much coming out of nowhere. I don't think he's been here for a while. Yeah,
exactly. So, yep, they just put the sort order in here. So Rachel's going to be pole sitter, followed by Marshall Miller, and then Tyler, Nate Groh, and then you're going to be top 5. So, how are you going to approach the race?
It's starting in the middle of the pack is always very interesting in any kind of format. I'm going to try to hold position while trying to gain position because you have to do both attack and defense. So it can be quite challenging. But my goal is trying to get past Nate and Tyler as quickly as possible.
But you're going to have PJ Manipenny on your tail.
PJ is always an interesting character to have.
And then look who's behind him, and Mr. Salerno.
Mr. Salerno is behind as well, so I'm going to have to fend him off.
Now, I'm not sure at this point if they're going to break that final into a smaller group or not, but for right now, we have all the top ones running through. We'll just run through the rest of the order. Corey Salerno, and then David Pons, Sean Horrigan, Katie Wise, Jonathan Douglas, and Chris Kuhn making it into that A main. They might end up splitting that up. We'll see here.
I think Adam was mentioning just doing an A main and a B main since we had 23.
Well, that's entirely possible. That'll put Jason Hall in the front of the field for the B main, followed by Brendan Thomas, then Jason, and then Jim Johns and Nathan Johns.
Unrelated.
Unrelated, but yeah, close in the standings, and then Cody. So
yeah, it should be interesting B main here coming up.
We talked a little bit about the racing line through the carousel tonight, and I was referencing the crack in the concrete. Do you use that line, or do you look at other reference points when you're going through the carousel?
So that's funny you talk about the carousel, because I've tonight, especially tonight, I'm trying a new line through the carousel. Actually, exiting 6th, which is the left kink before the carousel. I'm trying to take that extremely tight, which causes me to lose more speed. However, I can take then the carousel tighter.
Yeah.
So the carousel has always been a very tricky corner for everyone that races here. So a lot of different variables. But no, I don't look at the crack on the concrete. I just I focus on my approach to turn 6, like I said, the corner before. And then after that, depending on how I take it, I either take it extremely tight or a little bit wider.
Because it's going to help you with your straight line speed? Is that ultimately what you're looking for?
I think trying to stay as close to the inside in the carousel as possible is going to shave up as much time as possible. So I don't know if it's going to help much. Either line is not going to really affect your straight line speed going to the straightaway. I just believe that as tight as possible around the carousel is going to be the quickest line.
Okay, just trying to minimize track space then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Any other points of your line that you're adjusting tonight? That's an awfully risky thing to do on a GP night.
It is, but it's always fun to try something new. I feel like I was a little bit slow in the first heat, even though I had a better time overall. But that second heat, I felt like I was taking that specific set of corners quicker. So no, but that's the only thing I'm working on right now. 1, 2, 3 is always tricky. Again, it varies on the kart you have, the balancing, whether front tires, rear tires are warmer, just depending on.
And timing the throttle.
Exactly. Through
the corners.
Yep. Knowing when to lift off and when to keep it flat down.
Yeah, I know we spend a lot of time on that, those 2 corners, because they're so important to basically the backstretch of the circuit. So let's see. The other thing I was going to ask you before we go back to our finals is preparations for the 12 hours. We love talking about the 12 hours. Any new developments with your team or strategies or anything you guys are working on now that we've had another Monday practice here?
Yeah, that was my first practice. I missed the first one. So no, just at this point we're just kind of trying to get the feel of the carts, and really we're really gonna start talking strategy probably about 2 weeks before the race. During the first race, our team did a kind of a split strategy. We had 2 drivers race for 2 hours, 2 drivers for 2 hours, and then we pretty much divided in 2-hour segments. I don't know if we're going to do that again.
And how long was your typical stint in a cart? People ask me, how long do the batteries last? What were you guys finding was the best thing last year?
Yeah, good question. We try to push them as far as possible to minimize the amount of pit stops that we made. So I think last year we were going for 20 to 25 minutes per stint.
So that if you're running 2 drivers, then you're looking at swapping off every 20 minutes in that 2-hour time span, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And then what we did was we swatched the 2 drivers that went for the first 2 hours, then took a 2-hour break, gathered up ate some food, got some refreshments, and then stopped again.
That is kind of nice because in that way, as a driver, you know that you have a full 2 hours to rest, right?
Exactly.
And kind of not be on call. But also particularly stressful for switching back and forth all the time, right? So you're always on or off a car. So
exactly, yep.
Or if you're off the car, you're waiting for your opportunity to go back out.
And what we did is the teammate that was rotating with the driver was in charge of telemetry. So I mean, you were on for 2 hours and then you were off for 2 hours, which good to have that little mental break.
That's awesome. So they are running cart pickers right now. This is the way we randomly assign their carts. And that's particularly important for the final. But it also means that when they leave the pits, they're going to be in charge of organizing themselves, which is always fun to watch. Because all the cars are not lined up in that particular order in the pits. So we'll kind of leave it up to them. All right, well, we'll switch cameras then, Jason. Nice picture of a wall there. So
a lot of new names in this B main here.
It's great, isn't it? We always talk about people bringing friends, and that's what we've got tonight. So we're glad to have all these guys.
I heard John, I think last name Harnar. I think it's his first time here racing in K1.
Wow, nice. Yeah, let's check out. One of the advantages we have up here is we can tell your driver profile. So yeah, he's raced 2 races, and one of them was tonight. No, 2 of them were tonight. Yeah, so
both qualifiers.
Going into his 3rd race tonight. Thanks for coming out, John. We're glad to have you. If you guys are looking for a way to affordably run practice sessions, we still offer the Podium Pass. The best way I can tell you to go look for that is follow us on Instagram, k1speedcanton.com. It is in our link in our bio to the Podium Pass. It's basically 5 races a month for $50, and we call it the Podium Pass because that's ideally what it's for, is you come practice for this kind of event, trying to get you up on the podium. It's a cost-effective way. No other place in motorsports can you ever come close to running that kind of competitive racing environment for $10 a race.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to Marshall earlier, and we were talking about thousands of dollars racing X30s, which is a series of karts. But yeah, compared to here, you can't really beat it here.
Trade-off there is we provide the equipment, and so you never really know what you're going to get, but that's also part of the challenge at the same time. So are you going to stay up here with us during the final?
Well, during the B main, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Since Jason will be in this B main here, he's going to be sitting the 3rd spot of the B main, so we'll get to watch him and commentate.
And it's been a minute since Jason's been behind the wheel.
Yeah, it has. I'm trying to remember, as we see him putting on his blue helmet there. Well, it was the GP in December. We were getting ready to live stream, and then we realized where he was in the points, and he decided to race it. So
that's right. I think it was him and Katie, right? We're close in points.
They were 1 point apart last year, yeah. If you missed it earlier, there's our point standings and where we are. There's Armand in the number 2 spot. So he's going to be trying to capitalize on every point possible. But, of course, every driver on this list is fighting for points tonight. Basically, everybody on that list, on through 1st through 7th, is here tonight. So we're going to see some sort of shift.
And 9 and 10 as well are here, I believe.
Oh, that's correct. Yep, Tyler and Brendan. So we're only missing Will. Will, we want you to come back and race with us. I think, Will, you made the thumbnail for this particular race. So you got to come back and race with us. I know he's got work obligations and stuff. So,
what are you expecting in this B main, James?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think we're going to might see some lap traffic, even though we're only running 14 laps, or 16 laps. I'm sorry. So that'll be interesting because we know what that's like in the endurance race. Over the course of a half hour, you're naturally going to have lap traffic. But I think even tonight we're going to see a little bit of lapping. But I think the guys that are in this race are super close. So I am looking forward to seeing what they can do with the equipment that they're given.
Yeah, it should be a fun and exciting race.
Especially if this is the first time racing. I mean, have you even done a standing start on the track yet? Yeah, probably not.
Probably not, no.
Do we even have that number of grid spots on our track? No, we don't. How many are we running?
I think 12 or 11.
Okay, 12. Never mind. We do have that number of grid spots.
Yeah, 12 people races, 12 kart races are always very exciting because there's always battles throughout the field. So from a commentary and a spectator aspect, it's very entertaining.
Yeah, especially because we're going to have on board with Jason. We'll be watching him. We've also got it on board with Brendan. Of course, all these cameras are subject to availability. We've been having a little bit of glitching on them tonight. Followed by Nathan Johns in the number 33. We've also got on board with Jason Hall.
I think that's your
nope.
top.
And I'm sorry, one more. We got Jim Johns as well. So
that's the top 5 right there. Need some action from the front of the field.
We'll follow Jason since he's the first one out. We are running the combat karting system. We got the heads-up display down there. Really cool, full and unique for our center. What do you think, Armand, when you're running? Do you pay attention to it?
I'm glad you asked that. I actually do not. I prefer it closed. Just I'd like to focus on my line, and I'm so used to checking my lap times coming out of turn 1 or turn 3 on the very large scoreboard that we're going to see here in a second on this onboard camera, that I honestly forget to look at the heads-up display in front of me. So I typically close it just for
aerodynamics.
Sure. Yeah, we can say that.
Every little bit of wind resistance counts. There's the scoreboard up in the upper right-hand corner that he's referring to.
Yeah, on the track, it's very easy to read. No matter how fast you're going, or if you're battling someone else, you can always throw an eye up there and check up your times and your position.
And you're especially good at checking your lap times and knowing what they are, reading that. I can kind of read it and tell where I am, and I can obviously if I go purple, then it's easy to read, but sometimes I've gotten out of race with you and I go, how did you know that I ran that lap time? You're just really good at reading it.
Yeah, it's part of the strategy. Always know what you're racing, and also always know what your competitors are racing as well. Seeing if you need to up the pace.
Yeah.
Especially in an endurance series. Get the whole field getting around to the carousel here, gridding up momentarily. This is a part when you're in the car, you're like, all right, come on, I just want to get going. Yeah,
I'm surprised they're keeping them at the low speed level. Everybody's swerving to get any kind of heat into their tires, and they don't have much of an opportunity to do that when they're going that slow.
Yeah, it's tough with cold tires going into turn 1 on a GP night. I was a little wary of what's going to be coming from behind you.
There's your driver lineup there as we're going to look for Jason sitting on the pole position of this B main, followed by Brendan and Jason. Switch on board with Jason here. Hopefully that is not onboard communications that he's got on his helmet.
Going off lights, Jason.
Well, I don't think he's got any onboard communication with anyone on track.
That's good. Maybe it's just music. Yeah.
Probably just music.
Just giving him a hard time. He'll watch this later and text me.
Yeah, a lot of people like to. I know Marshall and Rachel both really like to race with music.
I can't do it.
I can't either. I like it nice and quiet. I like to focus on my line, and
I like to listen for all the noise around me, especially if there's coming up traffic behind me or beside me.
Exactly.
It would scare me if I was listening to music so loud I couldn't hear the cars around me. But
well, I don't want to get lost too. Like I feel like if I listen to music, like next thing I know, I lost five minutes. I'm like, oh, where am I at?
Well, we see you someday just run into a barrier straight ahead. Oh, I got lost. I didn't know there was a turn there.
I've done that before.
Well, especially during a 12-hour race. It is very long, so. We're about to get started on round 2 of the GP series. Thanks for following along, guys. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe. We appreciate it. You're going to be watching the B main first, followed by all the A's, and they're off. Brendan got a good jump at Jason. I think Jason was a little asleep at the wheel, as Jason's going to try to seize that opportunity as well. Something happened on the start. They stalled the cars, but they're back up to full power now. Jason's still going to maintain his #1 track position, followed by Brandon and Jason. That's the exact same starting order.
Jason's hitting on the steering wheel. I don't know if he's got an issue of some sort. Jason, third place Jason, that is, because I know we have a Jason in first and a third, so we'll try to differentiate the two. We're going to battle on the back of the pack here for 6th and 7th.
Let's see, who should we ride on board with here? Let's go to Jason because he's got a view of the cars that are up in front of him, positions 2 and 3. Brendan, give Jason a good, Jason and Jason. It'll make it nice and confusing here, having them in first and third. Brendan making sure that he is bumping the back of Jason Hall, as we're already going to be into lap 2. Let's switch over to Brandon Thomas.
Yeah, he's looking inside of 1. That's a really good passing opportunity. One of the only ones here on the track. One of the main ones.
It looked for a second there that Brendan had a look going into turn 2, but they missed out on the opportunity, so now they're back in the same order.
We've already got lap traffic here on lap 2, so the leaders are already catching up. It's going to be interesting here to get past.
There we go. Brandon Thomas on the back of number 19 going into turn 1.
And it looks like Jason. Ooh, someone spun someone out. That was Jason.
Well, the two Johns involved in that particular one, but Nathan John pointing out
Jason.
Calling somebody
boy.
out. Jason always likes to create rivalries, whether it's intentional or not. So.
Yeah, I think it was a bottleneck with the lap traffic, and kind of got piled up accidentally there.
Yeah, just kind of caught him at the very tail end of driving into turn 1. As you see a wide shot of here, Nathan Johns coming in. Let's see if we can go overhead.
Yeah, it looks like we get still a lot of congestion here through turn 4 right there. Leaders are away. First and second still nose to tail. Jason a little bit further behind.
Nathan trying to go on the outside, way back in that corner back there. That is a long way around, trying to get around John Harner. As everyone else now is rounding through 3, going into 4. And Jason Gajewski setting the fastest lap of the race at 27.2.
He needs to
0.02.
settle down and catch the leaders back up. It looks like he's doing just that.
And some of the bumping and grinding that we talked about at the beginning is actively taking place. So
it looks like Brendan got passed for the lead here.
He did.
So Jason's looking back, trying to get back first place.
Richie Kurtz setting the purple on the 26.9. 6 laps into 16-lap race. Time will go quickly when you're getting pushed around, battling for the lead.
So you see, like, looking at Jason here, we're talking about the carousel line. They're taking the exit of this very wide. So this is what we were talking about earlier, about taking a really tight corner just to minimize the track distance and improve your lap time. Brendan Thomas with a purple lap time, 26.8. That's the fastest lap of the race so far.
We're right on board with Jim Johns, which in the number 24, watching the battle in front of him. Lots of bumping going on through turn 4. And it's exactly what we expected in this B main. A lot of different lines being driven because they're just trying to find some track space. Brendan Thomas now going in purple with a 26.8 halfway through. Track workers are actively watching all this traffic to try to distinguish anything that might be considered a penalty or anything of the sort. Gonna split Jim going through turn 5.
And Jason just passed Jason for second. Now Jason's, there's too many Jasons here.
Jason Gajewski now on the back of Brendan Thomas on the 34.
That's a good opportunistic move to take advantage of the lap traffic at times. So it's always risky to pass lap traffic because you never want to put yourself in a position where you can get passed for position while making that pass.
We just want to keep an eye on the battle for the lead here, because Jason's going to try to give him everything he can in the short period of time. But he's going to, yeah, Brandon's going to open up a little bit of a gap and set a purple lap on that. So
Jason's kart looks very good through the corners. Might be down a little bit on top end, but he's making it work.
Trying to muscle his way through turn 4. A little bit of braking coming through the 34. A lot of drivers don't necessarily brake back there in the turn 5. You can carry some more momentum, but Brandon also carrying a little bit of an extra line there through the carousel. Check back on here with Jim Johns, because he's got a whole bunch of traffic right in front of him. They're also battling John.
It's the 19 of John Harnar.
Showing the blue flag at the starter stand. We'll just switch back to Jason Gajewski in the battle for the lead. You got your first and second position drivers for the B main as they tick off lap number 12.
4 laps to go already. Richie Hertz in 4th position. The kart 35 is putting down some really good lap times. I'm seeing if you can make it up to the podium in the B main here.
Jason Gajewski keeping Brandon Thomas honest, but still Brandon pulling out a little bit of a gap through some of these corners.
They're almost setting identical lap times. Ooh, Brandon Thomas with a 26.4 and Jason with a 26.7, so he's losing a little bit of time there.
We haven't checked up on Nathan Johns here in a little bit, so driving the number 33. He's back there in 8th spot, trying to see if he can do anything for the number 14 in front of him. Bill Kurtz is going to take the defensive line as they go through 1. You got a car turn sideways. Can Nathan capitalize on this over-under opportunity going through 2 and 3?
A little too wide.
Yeah, they're both going wide through that corner, losing the momentum they need.
You might be able to get him here on the inside of the carousel. Oh, switch it back to the...
Oh, sorry, let me I'll
right.
go ahead and switch back to Nathan there.
Oh, good. It looks like he's lacking a little bit on the exit there.
Yeah, for what one guy is making up in the corner, the other guy is going wider to keep that gap about the same.
Jason's losing a little bit each lap. We got the white flag waving already last lap of this B main final.
Check back on Nathan Johns real quick before we go into the final lap. A lot of the drivers, well, the field's kind of split. I was going to say a lot of the drivers in the 28s, but they're not. They're kind of all over the board here. They got 26s and 27s. Keeping the competition honest. Let's check overhead. As we have Brandon Thomas trying to round the corner.
Oh, I think that's
he has passed the start-finish line now in, and he will take the B main. Congratulations to Brandon Thomas.
And good old Jason Gajewski, he's finishing 2nd place here.
Brandon Thomas's best lap time on that somewhat chaotic race was a 26.4, and Jason's was a 26.6. So actually, it's a 15 thousandths of a second gap between them on their best lap time. So they're pretty close, pretty evenly matched, but Brendan was able to move up in the field.
Pretty fun race.
Jason Hall, who started in 1st, ended in 3rd, but not bad to hold on to that position. And Jim Johns starting in 4th, dropping down to 5th. Richie Kurtz, who finished in 4th. Boy, he started all the way down in 9th spot.
Wow.
So probably one of our biggest movers there was Richie Kurtz on the number 35 machine.
Well, I think the A-main's going to start here soon, so James, I will let you go.
Good luck, Armand. We'll be watching
much.
from above.
Sounds good.
We're actually going to give him not a lot of time to drop into his cart, but I'm sure he'll make it. I'm going to take just a pause here as Armand's running the bike back down to the pits. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
As we welcome back Jason back to the booth.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about having a commentator who's actually in the race is you get no better perspective than the person who just drove the heat. So fill us in. How did it go?
That was an interesting race. Lap traffic played a big deal, which was, I guess, to be expected. But blue flags definitely mean you don't have to move out of the way right now. And so many drivers come up on like lap traffic and expect them to just bump out of the way exactly where they are. But it's really the next safest place to continue the momentum of the race and pull off and let that person by. So there was a couple instances where everybody was flying into lap traffic, and if you have a freight train of people behind you, it's really tough to get stopped into a corner. So
we caught the tail end of that as everybody was kind of nose first into turn one. Tell us what happened there.
So turn one, I got passed back in the back in lap traffic, and then we immediately caught lap traffic again going into turn one, and it was me, it was me, Brendan, Jason, and who was, Nathan Johns was right up there too. So Nathan and Jason had passed me. Going into turn one, I took the inside. The lap traffic guy was on the middle side, or in the middle of the turn. And I think Nathan went on the inside. I followed his line. Jason went on the outside. And I don't know who clipped the lap traffic guy, but either way, one of their carts wound up right in front of me. And as I was going through the inside of the turn, like the side of my bumper hit their cart, and I was so confused. Like, how is there a cart like next to me right now? So it happens really quick when you're racing. I totally understand that. It's one of those things though. It's really frustrating to be the guy out in front where there was another one where I capitalized on it where the guy went out. Jason actually was out on the lap traffic on the outside of the track, and I was able to capitalize on that because he went out and I went in, and I just dove to the inside of the lap guy and Jason all at the same time. That's what I was hoping to do in turn one, but sometimes when you have a row of cars behind you, your braking point changes a lot because there are no brakes because everyone's still coming into the turn. So you just have to do your best to try to, avoid that as best you can. But it boils down to lap traffic, and I think sometimes as racers we get frustrated because they don't get out of the way fast enough. But, it's just one of those.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, one of those racing things. So I'm excited to see A main, though, if it's as exciting as B main.
Well, we talked a little bit with Armand before the start of that race, and he asked me what I was expecting, and I said, I think lap traffic is going to have a big portion of this. And it sure did. Not expecting it to have as quickly, but we know what that's like with the endurance race. When you run a half hour in a short track.
As we go green here. All right, let's see what this race holds.
Got Rachel Hart starting on the pole position, followed by Marshall Miller. Those two are battling it out in the points championships, so that's going to be an important race to watch. Followed by the number 3 of Tyler Covell, who got a great qualifying session in there tonight, starting in front of Nate Groh in the 16 machine.
Yeah, we've got a couple really good shots on GoPros. It'll be interesting to see where the battles lie on track here. It's on board with Marshall looking at Rachel out in front. Pretty good gap there. Marshall's going to work that down. His corner speed has gotten really fast, so Rachel's going to be on defense with that. That's a great shot just to see what she's going to be dealing with on track.
One of my favorite shots of looking back on a competitor who is giving him the heat as we were heard a little bit of bumping and grinding going back on here. We got David Pons, who's got somebody in the number 30. Corey Salerno, of course, going on the outside of that corner.
Corey's not going to give that up for anything.
Giving up the Salerno move. The field is going to be slowed because of the car, which was sideways, and so David's motioning to, I think, get back in front of him.
Yeah. So that's what's nice about racers you race with a lot. They'll do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know who you're working with for sure.
It is frustrating. I know GP rules are GP rules, but the way that is, like, different carts, just as you saw with David on the inside, you're going to have that little bit faster advantage. So when you slow down like that, it shuffles it, and if you're not a familiar racer here, you don't know to stay in line.
All right, they're going to re-accelerate them back to the timing line. We still got Rachel, Marshall, and Tyler, your top 3.
PJ right on the bumper of Armand going through the finish line there, going in. He's going to be looking for something. I bet you that camera in the back corner is going to be a good shot of people coming through.
Let's check that as the leader just went through. And so we'll see Armand in that bright yellow vest who we were just talking to a minute ago with PJ on his tail. And then we got the 2 of the two drivers here, David Pons and Corey Salerno, battling it out for the 6th and 7th spot. Sorry, 7th and 8th spot.
Yeah, they've raced together for a while, so I'm sure this is just going to be a fun grudge match.
David giving him the heat and pushing him, making sure that he knows that he's there, as Rachel Hart just went purple with 26.3.
David's driving him around.
He let him through, and now he's saying, okay, I'll take the spot back. Maybe as they round the carousel, who's going to have the inside line? David's going to best him on that and take the position as they go across the timing line. It'll change the position officially.
Yeah, I don't think there was much Corey could do on defense of that. When you have someone running on your bumper the entire time, it's, yeah.
You're watching the number 2 position, Marshall Miller, looking forward to Rachel Hart, who is again checking out on the field.
So long as she keeps that little bit of a buffer between her and Marshall. Marshall is a very aggressive guy on track when it comes to passing, so if she gives up some of that gap that's going on there, she's going to have her hands full. So hopefully she just keeps running away with it a little bit.
We'll now look back through that corner and see what the gaps are. We now got a big gap between Armand and PJ. Then you got David checking out on Corey Salerno. Then you got another gap here in between the 9 and 10 spot.
Jonathan and Katie.
Bringing up the back of the field there. You see Rachel just on the right-hand side of the screen with that bright blue helmet. She's leading the field at the moment. Still has not caught any lap traffic, so pretty much the circuit is all hers. Last lap by 26.3.
Yeah, four or five cars back from them where Armand and PJ are at. Or is that Armand and Nate going at it? Let's see as they cross the line here.
Yeah, it's Armand and Nate that we're going to see enter the shot here in 1 second right there.
Armand's right on the tail of Nate, so hopefully Nate has some good defensive driving. David turning the fastest lap of the race so far. He has turned up the heat at a 25.8.
Yeah,
so
after he got away from that battle with Corey, he's checked out. There's that battle right there as they follow along. Nate looking to the rear of the car as Armand's going to take a look on the inside of turn 1 and not going to be able to make it stick. We've always told the younger drivers that if that inside move, if that driver tries to take an inside move, make sure you stay in it, and that's exactly what Nate did.
The only way that ever works out is in turn 3. If the driver goes wide, that opens up that inside line, and you're able to squeeze by. But Nate, being a very good defensive driver, closed that up for sure.
What's Armand going to do? Not going to have as much, not going to be as close this time by, so he's going to hold the position. Rachel then again going purple, the 25.8, just reaffirming her pole position tonight, letting these guys know that she is dominating round 2. See a sizable gap there between first and second as we try to look back on board with Rachel.
It's actually funny, the gap has opened up between Rachel and Marshall, but Tyler's closed up the gap on Marshall pretty quickly, so
he's definitely keeping him honest there. There's the view from Marshall and the gap that is in front of him. Let's see what we've got as they round the back corner. The gap there with PJ and David staying pretty consistent. Bright yellow helmet of Corey Salerno. And now rounding the corner of with Katie Wise, which we haven't touched on yet, but she's pretty much minding her own race for the moment. So we'll kind of leave her out of that.
She was so disappointed I was in the B main.
She thought she was going to have an opportunity to battle it out again tonight.
Yeah, David and PJ's last lap times are pretty similar, so David did turn it up a little bit on that last lap. Lap before, they were pretty close. So
Rachel Hart turning it on with a 25.7. If there was any question about the kart making a huge difference during her qualifier, I think she's reaffirming it with a different machine. Marshall Miller just hanging on back there in the number 2 spot, staving off Tyler in the 3rd spot. Go on board as we watch. Yeah. That's Marshall Miller in the green helmet.
Tyler right behind him. This is what I think is going to turn into the last couple laps battle here. When you get a couple laps to go as a driver, you're always like, all right, I'm going to risk it. So if Tyler's got anything in his pocket for Marshall, then now is the time to do it.
Yep. But they are staying nose to tail all the way through the circuit, almost as if they were on railroad tracks going around the corners. This will be white flag this time by.
Armand and Nate, if there's any last lap moves.
Armand taking little bit of a look, but not able to do anything about that. And let's switch over to Rachel Hart as she's rounding turn 5 for the last time. Looks like we're up against her cameras.
Yeah.
If you're looking what's in the corner of the shot there. And she's going to come across the timing line. And Rachel Hart is going to take round 2 of the GP Series in K1 Speed Canton. Valiant effort by everyone following behind. I don't even know if we had any other lap traffic sitting there. A lot of other good battles throughout the track, but good defensive driving for those holding onto their positions. And that'll be your top 3 tonight: Rachel, Marshall, and Tyler. A lot of points on offer tonight, so that will shake things up a little bit. Rachel taking that bonus point before having the pole position. And she'll also have 1 point on top of Marshall because of her first versus second place finish. But good fought battles from everyone on track tonight.
Yeah, I know with 2 races in, it's not too late to jump in. This is the biggest GP we've had in a while, which is a great turnout.
Yeah. Yeah, I was concerned that it might drop off a little bit from January, but we actually have more, which is great. We want to keep that momentum up. As the drivers slow down, we'll come back here to the booth. And I don't know, we didn't have any other interviews lined up, so.
Not for tonight. We got, like I said, the first episode of Sidetrack coming out Monday, Tuesday, I think. And that'll be Rachel Hart's actually up on deck first. So we've got a couple of those to bring out.
And you did this in an interesting method. You said at the end of the interview, you ask who they would be interested in talking to.
Yep.
And that'll lead into the second person you interview.
That's correct, yeah.
All right.
Yep, so you guys will see
how many you
who's
got lined up.
We are 1, 2, 3 deep, 4 deep this week. So we're going to be shooting them out pretty much once a week leading up to the 12 hours so we can try to get as many people in as we can. We just had to come up with a good format for it and just let them rip. It's really interesting to hear from their perspectives, and everybody comes from a different point to get here. So different backgrounds of racing or not racing at all, as in one of the interviews so far. So it's really neat to see everybody coming together, and maybe you'll be surprised on who some of the people are and where they've started racing at.
Are you allowed to tell who the next drivers are?
Yeah, well, I guess that would spoil the one for Rachel, but yeah. So we've got.
Well, we can leave it then.
Yeah, I guess we'll check it out. Check out the episode. It's really good. Rachel. Mechanical engineer, learned a lot about her, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. She is one of the fastest women drivers here and really big on trying to grow the sport for women drivers and just overall loves racing. So really good interview. And then, yeah, up after that, there's a couple of fantastic people I got to interview. So
awesome.
I learned a lot for sure, so hopefully everyone else does. And definitely leave comments who you guys want to get to know. I know we've talked to Armand up here in the booth, and I think actually he is one of the ones that is coming up soon too.
Great. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. So thanks for following along in this second round of the GP Series. We look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks when we get back to the Endurance Championship. And then we will definitely be back here in the month of March for GP Round 3. So for James and Jason and Armand down there as our guest producer, thanks to all the track staff who made tonight work. We appreciate your efforts. We never want to forget you guys. And we will see you guys in a few weeks.